As this is the first session, we're going to just give you a quick overview of what the 30-Day Social Club is and how it will work over the next 4 weeks. Now, as you just said, I know some of you might be worried about time. So we've designed this course to only take a small amount of time each day. But I know even with that, even committing to a small amount every day is going to scare the life out of some of you. But just look at this slide, right? The alternative isn't better. If it's important to you, and I guess the fact that you're on this course means it is, you do have to commit some time. But we've tried to make it work so that we create a process that doesn't make it too onerous. So even if you're concerned, please commit to this 30 days. And trust me, it really will be worth it. You will see results.
So the simple mechanics of the course are, there are going to be 8 live sessions in total, spread over the 4 weeks. They're going to last about an hour each, and will include some breakout sessions so you can catch up with each other to discuss the various things that we're going to direct you on, including things that you're finding challenging. So please try to attend as many live sessions as you can. We're hoping the community aspect of the course will really come out as we go along. You're all going on this journey together, so it's more about making just social media posts. It's really going to hopefully change how you feel and think about things. So I won't go as far as saying it's going to be life-changing, but if you commit, I honestly believe it will genuinely revolutionize the way you think and behave online.
Okay, so that's the how, but you've probably got other questions like, why is it called a social club? Why does it have to be 30 days? Isn't 4 weeks a really long time to run a training session? And we will answer all of that, but before we go into any of that, Andy and I should introduce ourselves properly.
So I'm Andrew Seal. Let's find some pictures somewhere so you can see us more clearly. That says in black and white. So we've been doing digital marketing since the beginning of the web, really. So my bald head and Nigel's widow peaks tell a story of quite a few years of experience, probably more than we'd like to admit. So we set up a award-winning social media agency, Q, back in 2003, would you believe it, which has evolved over time to our current company, which is an employee advocacy company called Together. So as Together, we've launched employee advocacy programs for a whole host of leading global brands, including John Lewis, Waitrose, the Post Office, Ordnance Survey, Chartered Institute of Accountants, to name but a few. So in short, we've kind of been around since the BBC website looked a bit like this. I don't know if anyone's old enough to remember this, but this was the very first BBC website by all accounts. I was looking for it the other day. I remember that logo. So, but rather than go into detail about ourselves individually, I thought it'd be nice if we gave each other a quick intro.
Right. So Andrew, well, as you can see from his withered old frame, he's been in digital since like way beyond before Facebook and Twitter even existed. He was a channel editor at AOL back when AOL was a funky new web company taking over the world. But crucially, AOL was one of the first big names to have forums and chat rooms and communities. And this started Andy down the path of social before social was really a thing. Andrew then co-founded an award-winning digital consultancy called Get Frank, and he led projects for Channel 4, EMI, and others. I don't know if any of you remember the band Gorillaz, fronted by Blur's Damon Albarn, but Andy launched their first website for them while he was creative director at Get Frank. Andy then went on to launch award-winning marketing agency Cube Media alongside myself, which was nearly 20 years ago now. And he's also worked strategically with many global brands, including Häagen-Dazs, Saatchi & Saatchi, Emmerich, and more. Nowadays, in terms of social, Andy posts mainly on LinkedIn.
So on to Nige. Nige is a thrice published fiction author, now working on his 4th book. His 3rd, Life Slightly, is going to be published in September this year, and his 1st book, Beat the Rain, debuted in 2016. He was a global semi-finalist for the Best Debut Author in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and his 2nd novel was called in by the Man Booker Prize, would you believe it, which is amazing. Sadly, it didn't win, but what an amazing achievement anyway. But when he was published, what he really quickly realized was the importance of building a platform on social media to grow his profile and drive book sales. So he's over the years built an amazing profile on Twitter, and he's about to launch a new venture, AuthorSpark, which is about helping other authors do the same. So before Cuban Together, he was a writer and editor for Channel 4 TV. At Together, he's our COO, and he manages the development of our Together platform and delivers the employee advocacy programs with our clients. But as I said, in terms of social, Nigel is mainly on Twitter, although he does a bit on LinkedIn. So that's both of us in a nutshell. Hopefully that makes you think you're in good hands.
Right, so before we move on to the course, I just wanted to say a little something about employee advocacy in general, because honestly, I think it often has got a bit of a bad reputation. So here's what it's not. It's not about employees parroting the company line, sharing brand posts that they don't feel comfortable sharing. It's about finding your own professional voice and working out where that intersects with your company's brand values, because that's where the gold is.
No, I completely agree, Nigel, and you'd be pleased to know I've got some anecdotes to back all this up. Now, years ago, way before we were an employee advocacy agency, Nigel and I were pitching for some work for a new client, and we came up with the idea of having some kind of platform to get employees sharing content about how they travelled around. This was about sustainable travel, a sustainable travel project. So we had this idea of, we could have this tech to get people sharing and make it really easy. Unfortunately, we won the job. So we had to very quickly go and build this platform, which we managed to rustle together pretty sharpish, and actually did the project, which was really successful. And it turns out that this really ended up changing our entire business, because it turns out that employee advocacy really was a thing, even though this is going back some years, and it's helped us evolve as a business from Cuban Together. But back then, and as is absolutely the case now, employee advocacy isn't a simple answer for brands. When people launch these programs, they just often don't really go to plan. Companies often can't find enough people to get involved. People just don't want to share on behalf of the company often, or they start really well and then it fades off. People get bored of it, or there's lots of sharing. Everyone's actively pushing out content, but no one's really engaging with that. So, an employee advocacy can feel like it's all about companies feeding employees this brand content, saying you must share this content on social media, which is essentially asking them just to amplify their advertising. But this doesn't really work, which leads me to my second anecdote, which is where in our early days, working for Sony BMG, we found out the hard way.
Yeah, so Sony BMG wanted us to help promote a pilot for an online entertainment and music show they were involved in called Apollo's Pad. And it was described as the Muppets on crack, which you can probably see by the image. It was a pretty good description, to be honest. And it was a brilliant project to work on, loads of fun, and our whole team really got behind it until we launched. Now, caught up in the excitement of it all, we'd asked our whole team to share the content on their social channels and even change their profile pictures to one of the characters. Well, I know, don't judge us, that kind of thing was wacky back in the day. But anyway, Andy and I were then shocked to discover that there was a lot of resistance to any of our team sharing any of the content. They didn't want to, and they didn't share it.
Which was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. So, and as it was early days for us, we hadn't done anything like this really before. We could have decided, okay, employee advocacy, an informal attempt at this is it's not going to work. Right? We're not going to bother. But we felt there was a bit more, so we dug a bit deeper, and there was a lot of inappropriate jokes in the show. It was fairly risque, and it turned out that while our team loved working on it, not all of them were quite so happy about endorsing it on their personal social media profiles. It kind of jarred with them, and I think they felt it would jar with their friends or followers. So it was an early lesson, but it really changed how we think about employee advocacy as we've evolved it over the years. It can't simply be a place where employees are simply vehicles for resharing brand content so it gets more reach. Because if that's what it is, it's just going to fail. So
we took that and we started looking at things in a different way. So rather than starting with what the company or the brand needed, which is the traditional place to start, right? We started with the employee. What would an employee be happy to share? And as importantly, what would their followers and fans be happy to see? And we basically figured if there was a set of happy employees successfully growing their own influence on social media, in their own professional capacity, that would also work perfectly for the brand. So this really became the bedrock of our philosophy. So the point of all of this is that employee advocacy is about you. It's really about you, and it's not about your employer, as much as your employers might not want to hear that right now. But by making it about you, you will massively benefit your employer. And as a byproduct of your progress and success, they will succeed.
Now, of course, to succeed, there's quite a bit more to it, which we're going to cover in this course. You know, what's in it for you? How do you know what content to share is a huge question. Some of you mentioned that earlier. Obviously, the company do need to see that value in it. So how do they see that value? How are you going to measure your success? How will you feel you've achieved what you want? And the biggie, you know, will you have the time? How do you find the time to do this? And you know, within that, should you devote the time to it? So we're going to answer these questions over the next few weeks. But first and foremost, this course is about doing it right with you at the heart of it.
Okay, so from the onboarding survey we did before we started, almost all of you are primarily LinkedIn users on this course. So, all right, let's be honest, there's a lot of terrible content on LinkedIn, right? People sharing brand content they obviously don't care about, or bigging themselves up, or posting adverts verbatim, or selling endlessly without giving any real value to their connections. It can be really dull. But that's why the posts that are great on LinkedIn resonate so much with so many people. And what resonates with most people? Real stories. Employees' own expertise, their own perspective on their brand and its purpose. People want to hear passion. So on the 30-Day Social Club, we're not just going to give you a functional tip on how to do things. We're going to give you tips to help you find your own voice and passion, which will help with you writing your own posts and stories. Now, I know some of you are probably wincing inside right now, honestly, but trust me, your passion is there. So things we're going to cover what makes someone successful professionally on social media, what motivates them, what skills they have, and how they overcome their barriers and how they can keep it going.
Oh, I can feel another anecdote coming on here. Success has something in common with a recent discovery of mine in my mum's loft. I was helping to clear it out a few weeks back. This is my great-great-grandfather's violin. Now, as you can see, it's not in a great state, but by all accounts, it was a great violin, and he was a great violinist. So, as any of you will know who've learnt a musical instrument at some point in your life, or perhaps you're encouraging your children to do it now, I'm currently struggling to teach or get my 10-year-old, sorry, I'm not teaching him, to get my 10-year-old to practice his violin, and that's a toughie. But the answer isn't just practice. The answer is actually consistency. It's better to practice a small amount every day than do long sessions every few weeks, or not practice in between the lessons, or do a big burst of playing every few months. And it's the same growing social media presence. One of the core skills we've identified over the years is the ability to keep going. You need to comment and share consistently. And this is by far the most important factor in your success, which is why we created the 30-Day Social Club.
Okay, so as I said before, we wanted to create a course that didn't just teach you the technical skills of writing and posting, but also focused on what holds you back. Because we're all human. We all doubt ourselves, we get nervous, we get angsty. So we're going to tackle all the things that are going to stop you from succeeding. So again, if you take nothing else away from today's session, take this. Consistency really is everything. And we are going to give you the tools to be consistent over these next few weeks. But it's no good to share the odd good post here and there. You'll never get noticed and you'll never grow your influence. You need to be posting, commenting, reading and engaging consistently. And I know why that terrifies you all, because you immediately think, oh my God, I haven't got time. We're going to help you find ways of fitting that time in small, manageable chunks. And if you do it, you're going to be really successful on social media. You'll grow your profile, your expertise, you'll build strong relationships with your community, your customers, your peers. But to build a consistent habit, you really need to change your behavior. And that's not easy. I know it's not. But you need to identify and overcome the barriers that are going to stop you. There are loads of books on habits and embedding new behaviors, but honestly, the bottom line, you have to repeat something loads of times for it to become a habit. And that's why we've spread the course over 30 days. The 30-day social club won't just teach you the new skills, it will help you kick off that change in behavior that's going to be crucial to you succeeding. And the club part of the name? Well, one other crucial factor in changing behaviors is the support and accountability from people in the same situation. So that's why we're so keen you attend the live sessions and try not to slip into catch-up mode too regularly. For the next month, we're a community and you'll get the most out of this if you treat it like one.
One of the books I've read recently on habit forming is called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. Now, he says in his book that behavioral change comes from three things: motivation, ability, and prompt. So put simply, you need to be motivated to change, you need the ability to change, and you need to be prompted to change. Now, motivation can be really hard to change. You know, if you're not already motivated to share on social media, it's going to be really hard for us to change that. But hopefully the fact you're here, you know, we've got this mainly covered off. But ability, that's where we can help. We can make it as easy as possible for you to start sharing regularly on social media. And that's what we're going to focus on. And as for the prompt, well, that's what the 30 days is about. We and everyone else in this course is there to support and prompt each other to keep going and keep sharing, keep reminding each other. So, you know, we're going to help motivate you, especially on the days when you're flagging. So one of the things we've done to help build a consistent habit is we've created a little daily process, which is really easy to remember. This is a process we're going to build up over the next few weeks, but I'll give you the incredibly cheesy title. So are you ready for this? The 6 consistent C's. Yes, it's awful, isn't it? Anyway, hopefully it'll make you remember it. So what are the 6 consistent C's? They are cuppa, capture, comment, create, connect, and celebrate. So what are these? So cuppa is all about arriving every day with the right mindset for sharing and making and finding that time and to do it properly. Capture is about reading and learning from social, one of the big values of it. But more importantly, it's about capturing that information in an organized and systematic way so you can find it again. Comment is probably one of the most important things you'll do. Reaching out and giving to others will enable you to build those strong relationships and become part of the community and generate the kind of engagement you're looking to achieve. Create is where you write or curate your own posts, sharing your viewpoints, stories, and expertise. Connect is about finding your tribe and actively building connections and relationships within it. And finally, celebrate. Celebrate is the final part of the habit process, and it's really important to identify your successes and really celebrate them. So that's, you know, a key element of it. So those are the 6 consistent C's, and we're going to be going through each of those across the weeks to help you hone these skills.
Yeah, as Andy said, we'll build these skills bit by bit over the next 30 days. And to make it as easy as possible, we've created a roadmap which sets out small, manageable daily actions, so you don't need to think about it too much. And so looks like this, and you'll be able to download it from the 30-day Social Club Hub, and we'll email it to you after as well, after the session. So just a warning, over the next 30 days, we are going to be emailing you every day to prompt you with the small actions that day that you need to do. But this is really important. If and when you have a bad day, or you feel like things aren't going well, or you really feel like you haven't got time, you don't manage your tasks, don't fall off the wagon. Talk to us, email us, or post in the Guild community that we've set up if you haven't joined that already. Talk to other 30-dayers, because they're going to be having the same kind of days as you sometimes. We're not aiming for perfection, just for you to do your best and to commit to it for the 30 days. So there are a couple of things you need to do to get started. And one is, what are you going to write about, which is a biggie for most people, and what are your goals for this course? So we're going to cover what are you going to write about in the next session on Tuesday. But for now, we're going to have a quick chat about goals. So the big question is, why are you here? A common question common question many people ask when they're thinking about social media for work is, why should I be sharing on social media on behalf of my company?
Why do I need to build my professional profile? So even though I've worked in digital marketing, social media, as I said earlier, for many years, and I've a pretty good understanding of how it all works, I've for a long time pushed against the idea of being very active on the social platforms. Do you know why? Because the way I saw myself was, I'm not a writer. I'm a designer and a strategist. I'm not a writer. Nigel's the writer. He's, he writes for the company and he's a fiction author, but not me. But you know what? It turns out when I started doing this, that writing, commenting, posting on social media on a consistent basis has probably been one of the most valuable things I've ever done professionally. It's changed how I look at social media, but it's changed how I feel about my own knowledge and expertise. It's changed how I connect with my peers and the community. It's been an incredible action and activity to do. Which has really changed me professionally. So I'm one of the reasons we've created this course is because we believe in it so much. So I'd be fascinated to know what everyone else thinks about the value of being active in social media for work is. Perhaps, if people want to have any comments, just turn mute off or add it into the comments section of the chat. Got any thoughts?
So when I've seen it done well, so I work for BT and we have a very active sort of internal Facebook version, and when I've seen it done well, it's where people take content from that and put it on their own socials, and it feels natural. And as you've talked about, it's passion. It contains the passion as well. And the benefit for them as it's really raised their profile within the company. So they're seen as an advocate of our brands and our products, and it's worked well for their career. So from my point of view, from a selfish point of view, of course I care about BT, but I also care about my own career. So I'm doing this for me, really, to improve my standing within the company.
See, I think that's the right approach. Like I think what we were saying earlier, it kind of has to be for you first, because if you're not doing it for you first, it's going to fail because you're doing something that isn't authentic, that you don't really feel like is you. And part of what we'll cover on this in terms of helping people find what to write about, what to post and what to comment, it's actually helping you work out what your voice is on that platform, because it's got to be appropriate for the platform you're posting on as well. For me, that's bang on. That's the right approach. It's got to be about you. Thanks for that.
Here's some other comments in the chat. Matthew, raising own profile future opportunities, be more visible and open. That's great. Meet people from your company or other organisations that have the same interest. Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. Building a personal brand to connect with people I already know, people I should know. That's a good one. Definitely. Staying relevant. I think that's a brilliant point there. Just understanding what. I found that actually staying relevant, because it's only when you start going out there and seeing what other people in your industry are saying that you wouldn't necessarily connect with. And perhaps, historically people might have done that in, I don't know, conferences or other activities, but you can really get a feel for how things are moving and how things are changing, particularly if you're in a faster moving industry. Finding a wider audience for work, I do, absolutely. Connecting more people in your industry. You can learn so much from social media. Going on and listening to other experts and finding the experts isn't, it's really valuable. It's free learning.
It is, and do you know what? I've got to say, I've historically fallen into the trap sometimes of getting in too small a little bubble when I've been on social, and then kind of missing out on the wider conversations. Actually, it takes a little bit of effort to go and kind of find some of the conversations and the things that are happening on social that you are actually interested in, a part of your industry, your job. And sometimes you can get caught up in your little bubbles and you need to kind of step back and see the wider picture as well.
No, I think that's it. And I think, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the capture part of the course, but, really finding those interesting people, not necessarily going to be your direct connections on LinkedIn, but people you can follow who are just really knowledgeable and really interesting and can add real value to your feed, and muting some of the people who are a bit more just bigging themselves up all the time can be a good thing. So you actually get a feed which is useful for you.
Yeah, especially on LinkedIn. Don't be scared to unfollow people. You don't even have to not connect with them. You can kind of unfollow them, which is a quiet way of not seeing everything in your feed. If there are people that you know their content's never going to be for you.
So in summary of that, I mean, to me, it's about having the skills of being a modern team member in a digital world. I think that's the thing. I think some companies are still missing this, but I think, you know, for me, if you're a modern employee, you work for a company, or for yourself, these are one of the skills you just need. You need to know this is where your customers are, your peers, your competitors. You need to be part of that community, and you need to be aware of what's going on and the trends within it. But, you know, as we've just said, it's also about learning. It's an amazing learning place. It's a great place to, you know, I think really understand. This is what I found when I started writing. It's a really great place to understand who you are as well sometimes, you know, and it's that kind of experimental idea, really. It's only when you start writing and exploring exactly what you think, you can really understand where your value is and what you actually are most passionate and interested in. And it isn't necessarily what you thought it might be, or what, you know, what it says on the tin. So removing clutter and getting clarity was a great thing for me. But at the heart of it, the consistent act of writing and most importantly, publishing content, whether it be your own posts or comments and others, is the thing that's going to get you noticed and will offer you this kind of value. And, you know, and as we've said, as a representative of your company, you know, combined with your colleagues, you're going to benefit the company and grow the profile of you and the company together, which is a great thing. So the aim of this course is for you to come at it with increased confidence and understanding of your role, and, you know, a whole set of valuable skills, which means you can ultimately do your job and build your profile better in this digital world. So we're nearly at the end of the welcome session. Just wanted you to have a quick chance to have a chat before we wrap up. As you probably heard enough of my voice. We'll have a quick 10-minute breakout. Yeah, thanks for that. I hope that was useful starting point. Sorry, it's a little bit haphazard getting on board there. These things aren't always planned. But the aim of it really was to have a quick chat about your goals, about what you're trying to get out of the course, and what might be getting in the way of that. And one of the things I'd like you to do, if you have the time over the next few weeks, start a sort of simple journal, you know, in Evernote or a Notepad or something like that, Google Docs, just to note down how you feel about things as you go along, and to note down these goals, because it's something you can revisit as you go along. Because as you start doing this, you may change how you feel about, you know, why you're doing this or what you're aiming to achieve with that, and that's okay. Also, it's good to note down and get out, you know, how you feel about things, the experience that you're going through. So that can be really useful exercise, and we can come back to that as we go along. So finally, today, I'm just going to get back to your homework to get started on the actual course. And the most important thing you need to do, this will be the absolute most important thing you need to do on social media, is start. Because this is, you know, there are so many reasons not to start. You know, I don't know what to write about, I haven't got the time, I haven't got enough followers yet, or perhaps they're the wrong followers, or I posted something and, you know, I do this and no one seems to really engage with it. So we're going to tackle all of these things, but the most important thing you need to do is get started, and get started today. Today is well, tomorrow actually is the first day after 30 days, but get started today as well. So, you know, that's what I really want to get across.
I think I know today we've really just introduced our philosophy and kind of our thoughts about how the process should be, and we haven't really started the course yet, so we haven't covered any of those barriers. So you're probably sitting there thinking, all right, well, you haven't given us any tools to get started. But the reality is it all starts with a comment. So your mission from us right now, starting tomorrow or today, as Andy says, is not to post your own content, although you can do that as well if you want, but it's to comment more on other people's posts. If you do this, you'll start to understand the landscape of LinkedIn, and you'll find people talking about what you're actually interested in. Reading other people's posts means you can listen to what people in your space are saying and how they're saying it. And you can start the process of giving value to your target community. And we will talk about that more in later sessions. But it will really help you to reduce your perceived exposure if you're worried you might get it wrong when you're putting your own posts out. So start small, just with commenting. So you can follow these steps to get started. Firstly, find people in your area of interest. Now, a lot of this stuff seems obvious, but people kind of try and fast track past it. Follow hashtags and search for people who are writing about the topics that you're interested in. Don't get too caught up defining exactly what those interests are right now. Find rough topics, scroll around, read posts. Now, when you're scrolling and reading, stop when you feel something. It's really important. If a post doesn't make you feel anything, don't comment on it. Now, remember, this is supposed to be quick, so don't spend hours getting stuck analysing posts in detail, wondering if you could comment on it or what you might say if you do. If you're doing that, it's just not the right post for you and you shouldn't be commenting on it. Don't spend ages considering the pros and cons of what you might write. Just go with your gut. So when you found a post that you think, okay, I'm interested in that, draft a comment. And you don't have to post that comment off the bat or in a hurry. You can take your time, make sure you're happy with the reply. Now, it's at this point, in my experience, that all the mental barriers start coming in to prevent you from even drafting a comment, let alone posting it. You get that niggling negative voice that says, what can I say that's meaningful? What if I say something stupid? What if someone says something bad in response to me? I don't know anything, they're experts and I'm not. I shouldn't be wasting my time doing this. Oh, I haven't got time, I'm going to go and do something else instead. And then you just don't post your comment and you're not active on social. It's kind of the way it happens. So if it helps you, draft your comment somewhere away from the social platform. I know Andy likes to do this, like open a Google Doc or a notepad or something. That way you don't feel like you're about to press publish by mistake. But obviously you can always delete it if you do.
So the key thing with your comment is to add value to what the person you're commenting on has posted. So don't use this as an opportunity to sell your services or products. So here's a few thoughts on how to decide what to comment. I mean, you know, what did you like about the post or the article? Is there something that stood out for you that you could, you know, repeat back? How does it fit with your knowledge or interests? You know, why did you stop on the post? You know, what was the thing that jumped out at you? What could you add? So they made a point. What point could you add to that? Perhaps is there a particular experience or story that you know that you've got that you could share, which relates to what they were saying? And it's useful to add in their @ handle of the author as well. Some networks do this automatically, but it's a useful thing to do. So the key thing is just to get started and start commenting. We're going to build on that, but this is a 30-day course. You know, we want you to do something every day. Start by commenting, even if it's just once at this stage. It'd be really, really valuable, and it starts that momentum and that sprint of what we're trying to achieve. So that's it from us today.
Just to interrupt, just on that, the commenting every day also just gets into that habit of, even if you're only finding half an hour a day for social, getting into the consistent habit of doing something every day on social.
So that's it from us today. I hope you found it useful as a starting point. You've got more of an idea of what the 30-day social club's all about and why we're doing it and how it will benefit you. We'll send you the timetable, the roadmap after the session. And you can obviously watch this session again anytime. We'll put this on the Social Club Hub, which you'll, if you haven't already, we'll send you the invite to join that. So a quick reminder, things to do before the next session is start commenting. Just keep doing that. I'm sure some of you are already doing this, but turn those comments into something of more value to the audience, not just love this or this is great. You know, you can really add value because you have that expertise. If you haven't joined already, join the Guild community. Let people know how you're getting on. Got any questions? You've got any advice or value you can add for other people? Please jump in there. We'd love to have that start working. And if you've got time, start a little journal. Write down how you feel as you go through the process. It can be a really useful exercise. So good luck with it all. Thank you so much for being part of the course again. We really appreciate it. It's really nice to see all the faces, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, same time, 12 o'clock. So after the bank holiday. So hope you all have an amazing bank holiday weekend and we have some sunshine. Look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.